Hey, it is June the 6th, 2020, 2024. And last night, as I predicted, and you might well predicted, I had multiple dreams. I'll go ahead and lump them into one and call it my fourth official dream. But I was counting earlier, and when you think about all the days, and I've been having them every single day, it's like 10 or 11 days straight of dreaming. And with that, I got to ask, and I'm going to start asking everybody who I know. Does people dream every single night? And I think I know the answer to that is no. But I'm starting to wonder myself and really kind of, I wouldn't call the word freaking out, but I'm like, hey, how come I'm dreaming every single night? Is it because it's the end of days or what? Is it the end of my days and that's why I'm dreaming every night? I have no idea. But I'm very, very curious about it. How come y'all aren't dreaming every night? Are you dreaming every night? How come this isn't well known, common knowledge that everybody dreams every night? And then when the dreams stop, wouldn't that be alarming? I don't remember as a child dreaming every night. What kind of shit is this? That's what I want to know. All right, so with that being said, without further ado, I'd like to describe my dream while I got the opportunity. I woke up not very long ago, and I immediately got to walking. All right, so I love it. It's a good way to start out. I figure, it's the best opportunity to tell y'all about my dreams. So last night, it started off with a particular dream in which I suppose I was whisked back to being a kid. I don't really recognize who's in my household, who are my parents necessarily. They weren't a big factor in it, but I was a kid in my house. And I guess we're having a sleepover of sorts with a friend who, honestly, we were pretty decently close as children. This friend who I'm talking about, I have several different fond memories of. Even back, we stopped knowing each other as kids. But I still remember him fondly. Only know who exactly I'm talking about. This young man, little kid, used to live, 3 or 4 houses down from me on my block. His name is, and it's kind of a pretty typical used name, so I doubt you're ever going to find him. I doubt I'm ever going to find him. We lost touch as kids. But his name is Christopher Anderson. I don't even know who I'm talking about. Christopher Anderson. And after we lost touch, in reality, I had heard this and that weird stuff about him, which, it made sense to me, all the weird stuff that I heard about him. He's a weird guy, but like I say, I only have fond memories of Christopher Anderson. All right, and so, during my dream, we're having a sleepover, and as kids, at a certain point, Christopher Anderson goes ahead and somehow produces a crack pipe a la Hunter Biden or some shit. and begins to smoke in the crack pipe, which causes him to wild out. And he certainly does. And he gets in trouble, if you will. And it's very alarming to see the adults that were there who wound up taking over the situation. The dream ends shortly after that. I don't know what any of this means. To this day, I don't know what any of my dreams have meant. I like to also state that, yesterday I did a little bit of studying, just a little bit of lucid dreaming, because I don't know when these dreams are going to end. And if that's the case, I wouldn't mind having some sort of active participation in them. So I did a little bit of studying about lucid dreaming. Took some tips, some beginner tips from this person, who had 5 million views on their video as to beginner lucid dreaming. Are there lucid dreamers all over the place? How come this isn't talked about more? What is to be gained from this lucid dreaming? Alright, so the next dream that I had, pretty much unrelated. The next dream that I had, I seemed to be in some sort of college, university setting. I seemed to be. And amongst other things, I began attending a class. Alright, which was hard to find, but I got myself there and I was in this classroom. Oddly enough, from what I understand, this class was about philosophy type matters, and also they had gym equipment in it. Yeah, gym equipment. There was 2 or 3 machines that I had done physically, but however, there's this one machine that I just kept forgetting. And so when I had to recite what I was doing to the class, it came up, hey, how did you forget this machine? And I felt pretty embarrassed by it. I was like, oh shoot, I forgot that machine was there. And I felt pretty embarrassed by that. My professor, a guy who you probably don't know, but he's pretty famous, honestly. And he's interviewed Donald Trump. He's interviewed all sort of people. Pretty famous guy that you probably don't know. From out of San Antonio, or that's where he operates, from out of San Antonio. He's born in New York or something like that. In that area. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy, Joe Pags. I'm shocked that I hadn't heard of him until I did, maybe a couple of years ago or so. Joe Pags. I believe his name is Joe Paglia, but he goes by Joe Pags. Pretty famous guy, but also pretty well unknown. He was the professor in that classroom. So shortly after my embarrassment of forgetting a particular exercise machine, I left out of class. I stepped out for whatever reason. I'm not sure what. But I wound up finding my way to where lunch is being had. For some reason, where lunch was being had was much like a hotel lobby or something. Thereupon, I saw my man, Scotty. Scotty ended up in my dreams, just so that he knows. I'll tell him all about it. Scotty ends up in my dreams, and I wrote all this down. This is why I'm remembering the dream so well too, as well, because when I woke up from this dream, at about 6:30 in the morning, when I woke up from the stream, I wrote it all down, or I wrote what I could down. And then I passed out again because I was planning to sleep till about 7:30. I had a late night last night. So I see Scotty, and Scotty, he lets me, I don't know if I had money or not, but he lets me use his basically his meal ticket in order to get like a hamburger or something, order something for lunch, which I had to do over the phone in like one of the hotel bedrooms or one of the hotel rooms. All right, the meal ticket in and of itself was like a little mechanism for some reason, had nothing to do with anything except that it could break apart into pieces, in which it did. This was after I ordered the lunch over the phone. This meal ticket / little tiny mechanism broke into about 3 or 4 pieces. All right, and upon doing so, it got lost amongst the, how do you say, good morning. It got lost amongst other little pieces of whatever, metal. And so I'm like thinking to myself, oh man, I messed up Scotty's meal ticket thing. I gotta find these pieces and put them back together and give it back to Scotty. And while I'm trying to do so, it's like strewn about all these other little metal pieces. And these little kids are like, who I imagine that's where the metal pieces came from. These little kids are around just playing, having fun, playing with little trinkets and stuff like that. And the more they do so, the more harder it is for me to find these little pieces. And, you know, at a certain point, I'm having to give up because, like, sincerely, I've been out of Joe Paglia's class for a long time now at that point, and I know I have to get back. And so I go up to Scotty and I'm like, bro, I can't find these little pieces to the mechanism. And I'm like, man, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to come back to this spot. I'm going to find them. Because they simply dropped on the floor. They have not disappeared. I'm going to come back to find them. And I tell him that. And he tells me it's okay. You know, he just has to make sure that he gets to whatever school or wherever we're at on time tomorrow. And it shouldn't be a problem. And I say, you know, I'm glad that it shouldn't be a problem. But also, I means to find these pieces. All right, I set out to find these pieces for whatever reason. All right, so now I set back to find my way back to Joe Paglia's classroom. In this, I guess, a fairly big campus. I'm not sure why it reminded me of like Harry Potter. Good morning, sir. It reminded me of like where Harry Potter goes to school or some crap. All right. And so I don't know. I become very, very lost. And meanwhile, I wish I could have been lucid dreaming at this time, but never during my dreams did I think to myself the different techniques that could be had in order to ensure my lucid dreaming, and that never happened. Maybe tomorrow. So I'm asking people because I'm lost. Why not asking like 2 ladies where this classroom is, but I can't remember the name of Joe Paglia. Like, he's Joe Paglia in reality, but I don't recall what his name was in my dream. So I'm asking these ladies, they really don't know. I don't really remember the guy's name. I asked this one guy, I come across this one guy, and he seems to know who I'm talking about, even without mentioning the fellow's name. And he was like, "Oh, come with me, and I'll show you where the classroom is." But really, he doesn't know. He's just gonna try to be able to hunt it down for me. And so I'm following him, and he's just like not really sure where to go, but he's like my best hope to find this classroom again. But we never find it. Right, the dream ends before we ever find this classroom ever again. But in the meantime, whether it's significant or not, we do come across what seems to be like a rec center for students. And I take a peek inside. Actually, the rec center, the building itself, is quite small. However, there's students spilling out and on the outside of this rec center having fun, throwing around a football, or just doing that sort of outside activity. And on the inside of the rec center, I do remember seeing that they had a few things, to include a foosball table, which I remember thinking to myself, I was almost on the cusp of lucid dreaming, because I'm like, oh damn, a foosball table, I want to play that. We don't wind up playing it. Instead, I follow this guy who I'm thinking is going to lead me back to Joe Paglia's class. We never make it. And the thing is, he gets caught up, this guy, a little bit in the intramural style football game that's being played. And I'm looking at him, I'm not trying to judge him, and I'm like, it looks very fun. I can't judge you for wanting to do that. But at the same time, I thought I was being led back to Joe Pag's classroom or some stuff. We never make it back before I wind up waking up. And that'd be my fourth official dream, and I'm assuming, unless I take half a reefer gummy, dude, it seems almost certain that I'm going to have another dream or a couple of dreams tomorrow night, or tonight actually. And I'm going to keep up with the lucid dreaming techniques. Good morning. I'm going to keep up, or I never really started, but I'm going to try to remember, do a little bit of studying on lucid dreaming, try to implement the techniques better, and see if I can't make something happen to where that I could be at least active in the dreams that I'm talking about. And what the hell? And why is not everybody dreaming every night? What kind of sign is this for me in my life? I would assume it's the end of my life. I have no idea. It seems reasonable. I'm going to end this video, but, directly after waking up, and this is kind of random, directly after waking up, a person pops into my head for some reason. I can't remember the last time I thought about this person. It's not a person who I know. It's a professional wrestler whom I remember back when I was a child, named Flying Brian Pillman. I don't know if you ever heard of him. I mean, he wasn't the most famous of wrestlers either. I don't know why in the world I thought about him. But right there after I woke up, I went ahead and I Googled it, because I remember he had died. He had died a long time ago. And I don't know why I was thinking about him, but I Googled him. Flying Brian Pillman. Not only was he a professional wrestler, but I knew that he had been a professional football player. And when I say football, I mean American football. He had played for the Bengals, I knew that, but also I guess he played for the Buffalo Bills, I guess, and then he also played for some Canadian team or some crap before getting into the professional wrestling, where I knew him. And I don't know what kind of significance. I don't know why he popped into my mind. But, you know, with a little Google search, I was told why he died, basically. Because I didn't remember why he died. And as it turns out, he died from some undetected, according to Google, some undetected heart disease at the tender age of 35 years old. I'm 37, by the way. Almost seems random, and I couldn't say why. This man died at 35 years old of this undetected heart disease. Alright. I don't know the significance of it really, except that our ages are pretty close. This man happened to have 6 children by the time he died. 6! That's pretty badass. Alright, and then you might even, or like a wrestling fan these days, might even know some of his children who they have gotten into wrestling. There's a Brian Pillman Jr. out there. And like I said, he had 6 kids. I believe one of his daughters is in wrestling as well. I have no idea the significance of it, alright? I'm pretty much done with this video. I know none of it really makes any sense to you or me. And I'll holler at y'all later whether or not the next stream makes any sense. Alright? I'll holler and tell me about your damn dreams, buddy. Why are you, when nobody's telling me about their dreams? Is nobody dreaming? That's very alarming. I'll holler.